Now, in prepared remarks ahead of his confirmation hearing, Fed Chief Jerome Powell said the Fed wants to prevent inflation from becoming entrenched. Yahoo Finance Fed correspondent Brian Cheung is back with us. Brian, clearly Chair Powell is about to come out swinging on inflation, or at least hinting that he might.
Yeah, we're waiting for that Senate Banking Committee testimony to begin in just a few minutes. Now, of course, this is not just a regular testimony. This is his confirmation hearing after being announced for a second term as the Federal Reserve chairman by President Joe Biden. Now, of course, we already got his prepared remarks, and he really hit on the idea of inflation and wants to emphasize to the committee that this is something he's going to take very seriously. He said, quote, "We know that high inflation exacts a toll, particularly for those less able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation." And just a few seconds ago, we did get some opening remarks sent to the press by email from the ranking member, that's the top Republican on this committee, Pat Toomey. He wants to emphasize that the Fed needs to pay even more attention beyond that to inflation. Quote, "For the past 18 months, I cautioned that the Fed was fighting the last war, a mystery pathogen that led governments to collectively shut down the global economy. When a new enemy is here, inflation." So this could be something that the Republicans want to hit the Fed chairman on pretty hard. Now, for what it's worth, even though this is a confirmation hearing, he needs to support or get the support of both the Senate Banking Committee and then after that, the whole Senate at large. Really, expectation is that he should be able to sail the confirmation very easily. The Biden administration chose not to replace the Fed chair with a new name. Obviously, Lael Brainerd was tapped for vice chair. Her confirmation hearing will be on Thursday. But Powell has gone through a number of confirmation hearings before, not just for his first term as Fed chair, but as a Fed governor as well. And in all of those previous cases, he was confirmed on a bipartisan basis. So the expectation is for the same out of this as well.
So not much suspense then around the confirmation itself, but certainly some suspense over the tenor of the questioning to him on inflation. Also potentially about the ethics issues that have gone on as he has been Fed chair. Loretta Mester giving an interview this morning, another Fed governor, and saying she doesn't believe the Fed has an ethics problem. I wonder if the members of Congress are going to see it that way.
Well, the challenge is really not necessarily going to be, does the Fed have an ethics challenge with regards to its current statutory rules around how these Fed presidents and governors can do their trading, because the Fed in October last year tightened the rules to basically no longer allow any transactions that were done by the likes of the Dallas and the Boston Fed presidents during the turmoil of 2020. But the question is whether or not the optics damaged the Federal Reserve's reputation. And again, as you mentioned, Loretta Mester from the Cleveland Fed making remarks to Bloomberg earlier this morning saying she doesn't feel like there's any concern there. Now, of course, you would expect a Fed president, a senior Fed official to say the such. But of course, when you look at the optics of all of this, you've had at least two Fed presidents forced out early because of the large transactions, in many cases, multi-million-dollar transactions that were made while the Fed itself was making policy decisions that were confidential through the depths of the pandemic. And then just yesterday, you had the announcement from the Fed Vice Chairman Richard Clare that he'd be pulling forward his pre-planned stepping down from the Fed by 2 weeks after the New York Times reported that he didn't properly disclose his stock fund transactions properly over the course of 2020. So again, the optics continue to come out here and don't seem to be very favorable to the Fed. But perhaps that announcement yesterday, again, we don't know if it was kind of masterminded by Fed Chairman Jay Powell, but the fact that it comes a day before his confirmation hearing on Capitol Hill, maybe that's an effort for him to kind of roll out the carpet in this testimony if he is asked about it, to say, look, I think most of this has been dealt with already.